I've accidentally been growing my hair for the last 3 years, and suddenly the other day I realised that it was enough. It's time to go. And as I sit here now waiting to leave for my barber's appointment, I've been thinking about what this actually means and how big a deal it really is for me. So, this is the story of why my hair looks like this. It all started in 2019. After years of living in rural Wales and Spain, my husband and partner of 19 years, Nicholas, and we decided to move to the city, and we did. This was a new start for us. Nick had just spent the last couple of years fighting and overcoming bowel cancer. We wanted to experience everything life had to offer. So we upped sticks and moved to the city and a new life full of new experiences. And we threw ourselves into it. We tried everything the city had to offer. The culture, the nightlife, foods. We met new and interesting people. We made new friends and we learnt so much. And at the time, I was quite fussy about my hair. I would have a short back and sides, long on top, but very stylistically messy. At the time, I was the charge nurse of a busy emergency assessment unit in the local hospital where I managed the nursing staff and a service that was open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And it was a stressful job, but I knew what I was doing and I had an incredible team. I worked longer hours than I should have and often brought work home with me. But Nick and I were still enjoying the benefits of living in the city together, so I thought I had it all under control. My professional life changed completely when COVID arrived in March 2020. It hit hard and it took me and most of the nursing staff on the unit out for a fairly long period of time. Everyone was scared. There was such limited knowledge on COVID. All we knew was the reports from other countries of how many people were dying every day. And the next few weeks at work were like nothing I'd ever seen before. My working hours were increasing constantly, and sometimes I was away for 14 hours a day, 5 days a week, plus working from home over on my days off. And it was stressful, and I felt totally out of my depth. People were looking to me for guidance and reassurance, and I did the best I could, but I constantly felt like a fraud. But throughout all of this, Nick was so supportive. He knew what I was going through at work, and he always made sure he did everything that he could to help me. He ran the house, he did the cleaning, he made dinner every day. But I was so busy, I didn't even really notice one day when he mentioned that his stomach had been hurting earlier in the day. I should have noticed. Straight away. It should have set sirens going off in my head, but it didn't, and I missed it. But it wasn't long before Nick was back in hospital, having a scan just to rule out anything nasty, as they said. I mean, it's better to be safe than sorry, right? But one of the doctors I work with said that they would look at the results as soon as they became available and let me know on the same day, so that I wouldn't have to worry. So the results came in, the cancer's come back. And then from there, things happened really quickly. Nick's symptoms became a lot worse. He was rushed into hospital for emergency surgery, and he was there for 2 weeks. Because of COVID, I couldn't visit. He was too weak to send me messages, and nobody in the ward seemed to answer the bloody phone. I had to take some time off work because I was no use to anyone. And it was the middle of lockdown, so I didn't see anyone. I felt alone. It was scary. And I remember one day being in practically an empty Tesco's and just crying in the middle of the aisle. I was so scared that Nick was going to die. But he didn't. and he held on and fought and was eventually discharged. And the next couple of years were filled with nurse home visits, doctor's appointments, chemotherapy regimes, never-ending tablets, hair loss, weight loss, hospital admissions, collapsing injections. But all the way through, Nick was so positive. He knew he was going to get through it. And not once had the team looking after him even suggested there was a possibility that he might not survive this. And yeah, he was scared. And he was more scared than he let on. But he kept going. He loved life and he wasn't ready to get up. And the treatment was brutal, but it was a necessary evil. I had to take time off to care for him, but it was okay because everything was going according to plan. The cancer markers were dropping. His consultant was very optimistic. And when we left the consultant meeting, we were elated because we've been told that whilst this is a hard chapter, everything is going as it should be. And we thought life would return back to how it always was. It's not quite how it worked out. And 2 days later, whilst I was sat on the edge of the bed talking to him, Nick died. And then everything became a bit of a whirl. I called 999. I did CPR on Nick. I remember screaming and begging. I remember the paramedics arriving, the police arriving. I remember laying next to Nick's body as I waited for the funeral directors to come and collect him. I remember Nick leaving our home, the home where we had so much hope, and so much life and happiness. I remember him leaving it for the last time. Devastating doesn't even come close to how I felt. I was destroyed. There was no Michael anymore. I just felt like a shell. Part of me had died that moment as well. I didn't know how to exist in the world anymore. But what the hell has this got to do with my hair? Well, that is the point where I stopped cutting my hair. I just didn't care anymore about this thing that had always been important to me. And over 3 years since that have followed, I've often wondered why I haven't had it cut, because I don't even like long hair. I don't think it suits me. It's not a look I like. I have no problem. I think men can have long hair and I think it can look great on people, but I just don't think I'm one of those people. It doesn't suit me. And whenever I see myself, I've never once thought, Michael, you look great. Or if I have thought that, it's only been very fleeting, and then the next time I look in the mirror, I think, no, you don't. You really don't. And I think what had changed was that after Nick died, I no longer knew who I was. I didn't know how to fit into the world. I didn't know who I wanted to be. I didn't know what version of me was the real version of me. And whilst I was never one of those people that said, me and my other half, when we come together, we make a whole, I always knew that we were our own people, but I just didn't know who to be without him by my side. I couldn't see who I was through all that grief. And as time passed and I started to process my grief through a number of ways, such as breath work, I still refused to get my hair cut. And as more and more time passed, I'd started to explore things like spirituality and what it means to me and how I could use it to heal. I learned that it's okay to be where I am. I don't constantly need to strive to be somewhere else, to become some better, perfect, shiny version of who I am. I learned that it's okay to feel hurt, to feel pain, to feel disconnected and alone. And I realised that these things aren't something to run from, to avoid with drugs or alcohol or food or social media scrolling. Once again, I started meeting new people, and all the things that had helped me, like breath work, hypnotherapy, Reiki, past life regression, I learned how to facilitate all those things. I trained in them, and then I started sharing them. I started my own little business called Room to Breathe, and I started to help people access these services in an affordable way. It became my main job, and I was happy. I enjoyed it. But still, every day my hair grew, and I still refused to get it cut, and I still hated the look of it in the mirror. And even when people told me that I should get a haircut, your hair looks ridiculous, Michael, I refused to. Absolutely refused to. I wasn't ready. You see, for all the changes I had made, all the healing and growth I'd experienced, for all the things that I'd learnt and started, including my business, I was still in many ways just being a passive participant in life. I wasn't fully ready to take full control back and to properly get back into the driver's seat of my life. And that's okay. It really is. I needed time to find my bearings, to find my own ground. But a couple of days ago, something clicked. Something changed, and it came seemingly out of nowhere. And I just decided, right, now's the time to get my hair cut. I was finally ready, so I made an appointment. I hadn't been pressurized to do it by anyone. I just knew I was ready to take full control of my life and to be the version of me I want to be. Now, this isn't even really about hair. It's about choosing life again. It's about knowing who I want to be and making the decision and taking actions to being that person. So I have an appointment, and I have to go now, else I'll be late. So I'll see you on the other side. So here we are. The hair is finally cut. That is so weird. It's going to take so much getting used to. Yeah. Walking to the barber's, I was nervous, actually. I was much more nervous than I expected to be. It kind of hit me that the ends of my hair was the hair that was on my head when Nick was still alive, and that by cutting that, it was going to be releasing a little bit more, losing a little bit more of him. When I finally sat in the barber's chair, he said to me, "Are you sure you want to do this? You sure? I'd love to have hair like that." But I knew it was time. It had to go. I was ready. And it was really strange because as he started to cut the hair away from my head and this massive pile of hair started to form on the floor, I caught my reflection and I saw a face that I just hadn't seen for so long. And it was like seeing an old friend. He looked a little bit older and he looked like he had been through a lot. But I recognise him and I felt compassion for him, and I saw a glint in his eye that I hadn't seen for a long time, and in fact I think I thought had gone forever. And then the hair was cut and it felt great. Walking home, it felt really, really good. Not one drop of regret at all. In fact, when I got home, I looked at a picture of myself with long hair and I just thought, that was a weird phase. That was a strange time. It felt like I was looking at a photo of someone else, someone who was hiding, someone who was hurting and in pain, and someone who wasn't ready to let go. But I think by allowing myself to have this haircut, it's like I've given myself permission to start living again. Yeah. So what now? Well, I'm never going to be that version of me that existed before the grief, and that's fine. And I've already started the journey of working out who I am, but now is the time to like really work out where I want to exist in this world, how I want to show up in this world. And that's why I've started this channel, really, to share that journey in an honest way. It's not even about rebuilding my life. It's about building a life that fits me in a true way, an authentic way, in a way that learns from the lessons of life and rises from the ashes brand new and stronger. And if that's something that you can relate with and something you're in the process of doing, I hope that these videos, this one and the ones coming, show you that you're not alone and we can do this together. So I hope to see you in the next video.